And at the end of Lies of P, when the city of Krat lies in ruin, when humanity's pride and ambition have collapsed into dust, there is still one final secret waiting. A fight so brutal, so layered in meaning, that it doesn't just challenge your skill as a player, it challenges the very foundation of Pinocchio's story. This is the tale of the Nameless Puppet, and why his existence changes everything you thought you knew about this world. Part 1. Geppetto's Grief and Obsession. To understand this battle, we have to go back to where everything began. Geppetto, the brilliant, troubled father figure at the heart of this tragedy. On the surface, Geppetto appears as your guiding hand, the one voice urging you forward through the nightmare of Krat. But peel back the layers, and a darker truth reveals itself. Everything he did was never about saving the city. It was about Carlo. Carlo, Geppetto's real son, had died before the events of the game. And like so many fathers in myth and literature, Geppetto couldn't let go. He turned to puppetry, not as a craft, but as a desperate act of resurrection. He wanted Carlo back, no matter the cost. Pinocchio, P, the puppet we play as, was designed from the ground up to become Carlo's replacement. His body, his strength, even his potential for humanity, all crafted as a vessel for Geppetto's dead son. But Geppetto was cautious. He knew there was danger in granting too much freedom. If P's individuality grew too strong, if his lies and humanity blossomed beyond control, the vessel would reject its purpose. And so, in secret, Geppetto created a failsafe, a final puppet. A puppet with no name, no identity, no purpose of its own. The Nameless Puppet. This puppet's one and only mission was simple: to destroy P if he failed to become Carlo. Part 2. Simon Manus, the false god. Before we even face this hidden boss, we're tested against Simon Manus, the last leader of the alchemists and one of the most grotesque transformations in the game. Simon embodies ambition corrupted, a man who believed ergo and puppetry could elevate humanity, who fused his body into a monstrous weapon in an attempt to become divine. He calls himself the Arm of God, wielding both science and faith as tools of domination. Defeating him feels like the natural climax of the game. You've slain the false god, saved what little remains of Krat, and silenced the driving force behind the city's collapse. But in truth, this is only the penultimate trial. Simon Manus is the external enemy, but Geppetto has been preparing an internal enemy all along. Part 3. Carlo's shadow and the true purpose of the Nameless Puppet. When the battle with Simon ends, Geppetto reveals his plan without hesitation. You were never his son. You were never his hero. You were simply a container, a vessel meant to house Carlo's soul. And because you've strayed too far, because you've become your own person, you must now be destroyed. That's where the Nameless Puppet comes in. Think of him as your shadow brother. You, the experiment who learned to lie, to grow, to choose. And him, the husk, a puppet who was never allowed identity, never allowed humanity. A puppet of pure obedience, created to undo you if you rejected Geppetto's destiny. But there's another layer here. The Nameless Puppet isn't just a weapon. He's Carlo's ghost, a reflection of the son Geppetto couldn't let go of. By making this puppet the final guardian, Geppetto ensures that even in failure, Carlo's memory stands above P's individuality. And that's what makes this fight so significant. You're not just battling another boss, you're battling the symbol of Geppetto's grief, the last chain tying you to a destiny that was never yours. Part 4. Symbolism of the fight. Let's break down why this confrontation matters so deeply. Namelessness. In fairy tales, names give power. Names give identity. The fact that this puppet is nameless means Geppetto stripped him of individuality entirely. He is nothing but a weapon. Contrast that with P, who earns identity through lies, through choices, through the humanity he carves out for himself. Control versus freedom. The Nameless Puppet represents control, programming, and obedience. P represents rebellion, freedom, and individuality. This is not just a boss fight, it's a clash of philosophies. Carlo's ghost. By fighting this puppet, you're fighting the very reason you exist. Carlo's shadow hangs over every moment of the game, and here it takes shape in steel and fury. Beating the Nameless Puppet is the moment you prove you are not Carlo, and never will be. The last test of humanity. Every boss before this tested strength, courage, and survival. This fight tests identity. By defeating the Nameless Puppet, you destroy the part of yourself that was destined to remain a puppet. Part 5. Geppetto's final failure. And here lies the tragedy of Geppetto. He loses everything. His city crumbles. His son is gone. His perfect vessel rebels, and his last creation, the Nameless Puppet, falls in battle. Geppetto spent his life trying to recreate Carlo, but in doing so, he rejected the one creation that might have truly been his son, Pinocchio. In clinging too tightly to the past, he failed to see the humanity blooming before him. And so, he dies with nothing. His legacy shattered, his creations gone. His grief devoured him, and in the end, his greatest achievement was the proof that even a puppet could surpass his narrow definition of humanity. And finally, the closing reflection. So when the nameless puppet lies broken on the ground, the meaning of the fight crystallizes. This was never just about ergo, or puppets, or alchemists. It was about whether you would remain chained to Geppetto's grief, or break free to become something more. By destroying the nameless puppet, you reject the fate that was forced upon you. You reject being a vessel, reject being Carlo's shadow, and you step into your own humanity. And in that moment, Pinocchio is no longer just a puppet. He is no longer Geppetto's creation. He becomes something far greater, a being of choice, of lies, and of freedom. And that, perhaps, is more human than anything Geppetto could have ever made.